Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.
Are you ready for a competition where the best cake artists from around the country are asked, can you top that? In round one, 3 teams have to make a cake with masterful detail.
Absolutely flawless.
The detail has to be perfect.
Feeling the heat yet?
And in round 2, the final 2 teams will have to swap cakes and try to level up their opponent's design. Swap those cakes!
I just die inside.
You're shaking like a leaf.
This could have ruined the cake.
Stressful.
I'm so nervous to be judged.
Call a lumberjack, because that cake is firewood at this point.
Jeez, the frickin' weed. Oh my God.
Get ready for towering,
Can't believe you pulled it off.
moving,
This is brilliant.
jaw-dropping cakes.
You took a cake that was already over the top and topped it.
So British and prim and proper. Top of the morning spot, see?
I don't think I've ever heard someone from New Jersey do a British accent.
Cake toppers.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. This is your home for all things food and pop culture. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of program reminders. Sorry, I usually take a break during the end of the year for November, December, just for the holidays and give myself a little break here. But I have some great guests that I didn't want to wait to book. I have Jennifer from For Goodness Cake. And they were just recently on a Hulu show called Cake Toppers. So local to Jacksonville. I'm local to Jacksonville, so I love seeing Jacksonville folks on TV getting featured nationally. Jennifer, thank you for coming on the podcast.
We're so honored. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and your husband is out working on his car, I understand, so he'll be jumping in at some point.
Yes, he will. He recently unearthed a 57 Chevy from the junkyard, and she's my sister wife. She takes lots and lots of his time now. So
wow, just a cake artist, a former tattoo artist, and a classic car restorer, a Renaissance man. He is.
He's a man's man, right?
Well, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. I watched your episodes on Hulu for Cake Toppers. I thought the concept was really fun. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted to kind of get your origin story on how you became bakers. You and your husband got married, and was the thought from day one is like, let's start a bakery. So what was the origin story behind you and your husband starting For Goodness Cake?
We got married, and our son came along, and I became a stay-at-home mom that didn't really enjoy staying at home. And I'm kind of one of those social people that seem to need stuff to do and more interaction. And I was going a little stir crazy. And for Christmas that year, our son was born. He bought me a KitchenAid mixer and this book called The Cake Bible, which is full of recipes and tips and tricks for making cakes. And it was fabulous. It kind of gave me something to do. I dove into it, went through all the different recipes, and it just kind of sparked something in me that I didn't really even know was there.
Wow. So what was your life before becoming a baker? What was the transition, what you were to becoming a baker?
It's an odd transition. I bought my first tanning salon when I was 19. And eventually I had 2 tanning salons and a company that sort of helped other people open tanning salons.
Oh, wow.
So my husband likes to joke that I went from baking people to baking cakes.
That's funny. That's so, somewhat tangentially related, baking people,
right?
Baking cakes. But that is an interesting transition, a budding tanning salon empire to baking cakes. And all it took was the right gift and the right spark, and the ship has turned. Now, your husband kind of has an interesting origin story too. I learned that he was a former tattoo artist for many, many years, and then he transitioned to baking. Was it soon after you got into it, or was there some coaxing involved?
So we officially opened the business in 2016. When we started doing like basic cakes for friends and family, like little buttercream cakes. And they started to get larger and more complicated, and he would kind of help out every now and then. And then right before COVID in 2020, we kind of decided that this would be a fun thing to go all in on. And he sold his tattoo studio. He's been a tattoo artist for 25 years, Herrera Tattoo here in Jacksonville. And we kind of went whole hog in on it together, and haven't killed each other yet.
What is that like to work with your husband in such close quarters? I mean, I've heard of married couples that kind of work maybe at the same like corporate company, but aren't like together. But working as an at-home business or a self-employed, bake shop, what's it like working with your husband 24/7? Is there sometimes you're like ready to like, I need a vacation from you?
Right. So it's nice in the sense that we can both kind of read each other to where like, I need to walk away from you for a few minutes, or I'm very hard-headed when I see something in my brain and I want it that way, but conversely, he's very hard-headed too. So I kind of have to step back and say, okay, you know how to engineer this, and I'm going to let you do your part. But it seems so cliche, but at the end of the day, spending all day together, he's the only person I want to spend the evening at dinner with. It's, we really, really click.
Well, that's good. Because you sometimes find out that, it doesn't quite work out working together, and maybe there's this,
you're like, high hopes, but no.
Didn't quite work out, but this, I'm glad it worked out, and obviously it brought you a lot of success for being recognized on Hulu and getting all that together. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the business today. So what services do you offer? Where can people find you if they wanted to order a cake? How would all that work?
So they can find us on our social channels, which is For Goodness Cake Bakery Jax, JAX. And then our website is just forgoodnesscakejax.com. And what we offer is a little bit different. It's not your normal standard buttercream birthday cake. We're going to offer cakes that look like other objects. Maybe you want an alligator swimming through the marsh. We can do that. Maybe you want a Mario cake where the Mario coin on top levitates and spins. We can do that too.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really different kind of cake. We really enjoy making them interactive and fun for the guests.
So if people are looking for like a public style sheet cake, that's not going to be what you're going to offer.
No, we're going to be up your alley if you're looking for a hyper realistic whiskey barrel that pours whiskey, and then you can eat it at the end of the night.
Now on Instagram, I'm seeing a lot of things really going viral of, is it cake? Things that look like something else, but is cake. Have you seen with the rise of social media and some of these types of cakes going viral, has your business kind of increased with that as well to say, hey, I saw this on social media. Can you do something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll get lots of people that are like, I usually get my husband a regular birthday cake, but he loves James Bond. Can you make a giant gold James Bond gun? So lots of things that maybe I can remember in 2016 when we started that weren't popular or weren't cool. And all of a sudden people are realizing what you can do with sugar and what you can do with cake, and realizing that we can do some really cool stuff.
Wow. That's amazing. And that's a real niche. I say niche, but then, with the virality that we were just talking about, it's coming a little bit more commonplace, but it is kind of a niche type of business. You're not looking at a standard like 3-tier cake. You want something that's more creative, that a geode cake is so 2007, that kind of thing. right. So we need something a little bit more, and that's the kind of cakes that you guys make. So that's awesome. So if you guys are looking for that kind of hyper realistic or just a different kind of cake to celebrate any occasion, you want to look these guys up. So let's talk about why you're here. So you guys were on a Hulu show called For Goodness Cake, and I got a little bit of a bone to pick with Hulu. I saw zero advertising on this show before. If I had not seen if I had not seen News for Jack's segment and their posting, I would have never known this show existed. It didn't even pop up on the just added section of Hulu. Like, did you find that as participants, like, man, you got to help me out here, help me promote my business?
So let's see. We filmed a year ago in October.
Oh, wow.
And, kept waiting and waiting, sure, we'll hear something. And finally started reaching out to the other contestants.
Have you heard anything? What's going on?
Have you heard something? Maybe
Right.
I haven't. And oh gosh, what's the nicest way I can say it was disorganized?
What the is happening right now?
Oh, wow. Okay. You heard it here first.
We got promos to share the Saturday before it dropped on Hulu.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not enough time.
No.
Yeah, especially with, the holidays. November is basically Thanksgiving, the whole month. So everybody's, kind of up and around and doing things. Right. Yeah, and so a lot of promoting it a week before, people aren't going to see that, unfortunately. Like I said, I was just happening to scroll through Facebook and saw a News for Jax thing. Had I not seen that, I would have never known you guys were on a show.
No, that part was really frustrating.
Yeah. And I was like, man, nothing. And, Buddy Valastro is a pretty big name, the host of the show. And you would have thought there would have been some more stuff happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, more hype, more. Yeah, absolutely. We completely agree.
Well, that's a shame. So you said you recorded this a year ago. What was the selection process like? Did they approach you? Was there an open casting call? Like, how did that all work?
So we had a producer reach out. A casting director, casting agent. I'm not really sure what she would have been. She reached out about 2 years ago, and was asking us about Halloween Wars, which is a big show that comes on Food Network.
Yeah.
Their format didn't really. We wanted to do something together, and the Halloween Wars format is a cake artist, a pumpkin artist, and a sugar artist. Right. So there's not really two cake artists, and neither one of us knows enough about one of those other two things to be any sort of, on TV doing it. So she kind of said, hey, I'll keep your number and I'll call you if something comes up. Completely felt like a brush off. Never thought in a million years I'd hear from her again. And she reached out last July and said, hey, I've got this team show just came across my desk. I really want you to go online. I'm going to send you a link to the application. I want you to fill it out. This would be perfect for you. So we filled out that application, and then it's just this application after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, with this person and then that person. And then finally you're all the way up to the director, who, is the final yes or no. Are you personable? Are you good on camera? Do you have a good team dynamic? There's all these different things that they want to see.
Right. How long did that process take?
So that was from, I would say, July until we got on the plane in October.
Oh my goodness. So, the interview process, but how long did that, from July all the way through to like October? Like, you didn't know for sure you were going to be on the show until. So
we, again, this kind of organizational thing.
What the is happening right now?
We found out, I would say, no more than 2 weeks.
Before you got on the plane in October.
Before they were like, here's your plane ticket.
That's insane. So one of my questions was like, did you know ahead of time what some of these challenges were going to be? It sounds like probably not, or maybe you had a very little inkling of it.
So it's kind of interesting. You watch these shows, right? Like on Food Network, and you're like, did they know about that? Like, what's that giant structure they all of a sudden have that they didn't have 5 minutes of? Where did that come from? So we knew going into the two challenges, we knew what the first challenge would be.
Okay.
So on the first episode we filmed, which was called Into the Woods, which was actually the very first episode ever filmed during production.
But the third episode released. Yeah,
third episode on when you're scrolling, but it was the very first episode filmed during production. So it was a whole thing in and of itself. But we got a prompt from the producer. This is going to be called Into the Woods, and we want you to make a hyper-realistic plant, and you think about what you want to make, and then tell us, and we'll tell you if that's okay.
Okay.
Presumably because they don't want all three teams making the exact same thing.
Right.
So we did know about that aspect of it. And then when you get to you move on in the challenge, which if you watch that episode and you see my surprised face, it was real because so much happened on the first half of that episode that did not make it on camera. So that surprise face is real. I did not in a million years think we were moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I want to talk about the format of cake toppers versus, you mentioned, was it Halloween Wars? So
Halloween Wars, yeah.
Yeah. So some of these other baking shows that are fairly popular on Food Network and the British Bake Cook-Off and all that stuff. The part of the drama, I think, of some of these baking shows that people love is the actual bake itself, right? People are making the cakes and is it going to be in the oven in time? Is the oven at the right temperature? Do they know how to use these ovens? All that sort of thing. So that's part of the drama. Whereas cake toppers is a little unusual. There was no baking involved, yet there was ovens on your background, which nobody used.
Right.
So the cakes were pre-made sheet cakes. You had the Rice Krispie, treat things that you could sculpt and mold. This was really just about artistry and creativity and less about did it taste good. Were you somewhat surprised that there would be, when you first kind of heard about the show, that there would be no baking involved and that it was just strictly decorating?
So they were up front from the very beginning. There is no baking. What Buddy wanted out of this show was really amazing cakes. That was the end goal. So they kind of felt like any time spent baking was going to take away from what would in the end be these hugely spectacular cakes. That was his main goal. He wanted really amazing cakes.
Yeah. I mean, this was not without its drama, right? In the first round you were talking, or the first episode, Into the Woods, you actually had competing bonsai trees a little bit. So you mentioned, they didn't want three people cooking the same thing or making the same thing, decorating the same thing, but you still had one group that was doing a bonsai tree and you actually were doing a bonsai tree too. So did you, at what point did you look at these other contestants like, oh my God, they're doing a bonsai tree too?
It's so funny watching the show back. There are so many moments from the other two teams that I literally did not know happened. You are so engulfed in yourself and your, what you're doing.
Right.
But there was a point where we looked across because the other team, Rodolfo and Renata, are across from us in the studio. And when I have to go to the refrigerators or I have to go to the microwaves or anything, I have to physically walk the entire studio over behind them. So I looked at their sketch and I remember coming back to Scott and saying, that's the exact same thing we're doing.
Right.
That can't be good. All theirs has to be is slightly better and we're screwed.
Yeah.
So that was a really scary moment, definitely, to realize we were basically making the same thing.
Yeah, because you always see that on cooking competitions too. If you have three people competing and two of them are doing the same thing, by default you're going to compare one to the other, right? And then third,
absolutely. And she did some of the coolest techniques when they made their bonsai tree. I remember looking over and seeing her frying the flowers, and I was like, well. Doesn't matter what I do now. That's just too cool.
Yeah, I saw that too. When they were frying the rice paper, I'm like, oh, that is a really good idea. And it kind of looks like an actual bonsai tree. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, if they're not going to take, even when I was watching, I was like, there's no way they're going to take two bonsai trees to the final, to the second round.
And the other team, Kate and Sarah, who did the potted plants, I remember walking into the studio and recognizing Kate and Sarah. Oh my God, you have a book. I have read your book.
Oh.
And I'm supposed to be on the same level as you. There's no way in the world. It was so intimidating. And I think the only thing that moved us forward in that particular episode was the fact that they just got bogged down in the detail of all the leaves and all the flowers. Yep. But their team and our team actually had the same problem, which was the kitchen, the culinary aspect of the show, provides the buttercream, the cake, And when they ask what we use ganache on our cakes, which is a chocolate cream product that sets really firm. So it's perfect for sculpting and, putting fondant over. So that was all we told the culinary department. We need ganache. Huge mistake on my part, because what they handed me was the kind of ganache that goes into like a chocolate bonbon that you get in a box of chocolates that when you bite it, it oozes out.
Yeah.
Everywhere. So what they don't show on camera is our cake literally melting.
Oh no.
As I'm putting ganache on it, and she ended up having the same problem.
Oh wow.
So I really think it was sort of a pile of happenstances.
Yeah.
That made us move forward in that particular episode.
Yeah. I think what got that group in trouble too with the kind of the potted plants is they didn't really paint their pots. Like it looked unfinished, and I think that's what kind of got them eliminated.
She waited, and you can hear her say,
"Yeah,
we debated, should we start on the pots or should we start on the leaves?" And they started on the leaves. Kate, by the way, is the sugar flower queen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now the second part of this kind of twist of a concept is the two finalists that move forward, or the two out of the three that move forward to the second round, they switch cakes, right? And then you got to build upon their existing cake into a kind of completely different concept. So was there a level of thinking, and probably not, you're like you were saying earlier, you're kind of engrossed into your own thing. Was there a thinking of a little bit of sabotage? Like, I don't want to make this cake too easy to change in case we move it forward?
So when our structure starts rocking, when I'm carving it, they don't have Scott on camera with him saying, if it falls down, all it has to make it through is one round for us, no big deal. So yeah, there's a certain level of like, I could fix this, but why? All it has to do is stand up for me.
Right.
For a few more hours, and then whatever happens to them, that happens to them.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, because I thought that, well, one, when I saw that your cake was rocking a little bit back and forth, but I for sure thought about that when you were on your second episode, episode 9, and you had to make these like gem kind of things with the crates and stuff. And hello, sir. Welcome.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Amazing.
You going to be joining us?
We're working on my 57 Chevy right now.
Oh, you're letting your wife do all the PR work. Well, thank you for joining us and taking a little bit of time. We were just talking about some of the concepts. And I want to say while you're here, your airbrushing was spectacular, especially in that second episode 9, where you had to do that kind of alien chandelier gem chest kind of thing. That was fantastic. Your airbrushing is top notch, sir. And that tattoo artist in you is definitely coming out in that airbrushing, and it looked great. So I just wanted to say that while you're on camera here with us.
I think the airbrushing and tattooing, it carried over well into the cake designs.
Yeah, very much so.
Really,
and then I was talking to your lovely better half here about working together as a married couple. Did you find that as an advantage a little bit on the show, because some of these folks came from different cities,
look at her.
different?
Yes, dear.
As a husband
we
should.
get along really well anyway, so I just know when to stay out of the way.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. You kind of know when she starting to maybe get a little upset at you. It's like, okay, I need to back off. I need to just stick to doing my thing here. Because some of the other teams they didn't even work together. They were maybe paired up or something outside. I mean, I don't know their backgrounds, but some of them were in like completely different cities. And I'm like, how do you guys work together long enough to know that you're going to be a good team? And I was like, you guys have got to be an advantage.
There was parts and things that we could do that flowed like into our everyday lives, where I didn't have to question what he was doing because I knew he knew what to do, as opposed to if I had just met this person or just been paired up with them. I feel like that would have been a whole other level of like, oh, do you understand exactly what I'm saying? Are you listening to me? Whereas I know he knows.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I feel like I saw that play out in the show where you guys were communicating really well and kind of knows each other's strengths and weaknesses a little bit better than maybe some of these other teams, and that we're kind of figuring it out as the challenge was going on. So, so Scott, I want to thank you for being on. I know you got a car waiting on you, and I don't. Yeah, I don't want to keep you from your project, and I'll let you get back to it. But thank you so much for being on and answering that. Yeah, thank you. Scott, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, a little bit of sabotage. So the episode 9 that you're in with the gem crates and stuff, I think that team that made that alien demon crate thing had it in their mind to try and sabotage whoever's going to get it by making their thing so unwieldy and so large that you thought, what am I going to do with this thing? Did you kind of think that when you got it, when you made it through the first round of that one to the finals, and you got this cake, like, what am I going to do?
Standing there, and because you don't know what the second half is going to be,
right?
So when we're standing there, and he says, "Oh, by the way, I want you to hang this from the ceiling."
Yeah,
and I'm just, we were. Angry is really the only word that can come to mind. That was a really angry, very long night for the two of us, where we were just debating all of our life choices that had led us up to this point.
It's going to be a disaster. It's going to fall.
Yes, that was all I could think, is what if it falls on somebody? What, because the huge scary part of getting somebody else's cake, especially in that sense that it has to hang from the ceiling, I don't know if she knows how to construct things. She could have just had 2 little nails that she used to hang a picture frame on each corner of that cake. And what if that was all she used?
Yeah.
So formulating a plan as to how we are going to deconstruct that cake was so stressful.
Yeah. Yes, because I thought they're doing that on purpose. I mean, it was a cool looking cake in the first round, but man, to give it to somebody and say, do something with this without completely dismantling it. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's smart gameplay based on the format. But I got to tell you, you guys pulled it out. And in total, spoiler alert, you guys went 1 for 1 on your show. Yeah. You lost the first one. But the second one, were they okay? You said that the episode number 3 was the first one to be filmed. Was episode 9? It's obviously after. So, what lessons did you?
We filmed them back to back.
Oh, you filmed them back to back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't really any time to kind of think about it. Because I was going to ask you, what lessons did you learn from the plant challenge to the gem challenge to think, okay, we did this, it didn't go right. Let's do this thing next.
So, it was actually really amazing. The first challenge that the other team won, Renato and Rodolfo won, as we're walking out of the studio that evening, and it's late. These are 10-hour days. And we're walking out of the studio, and we tell him that we're filming again. We've got another episode to film. And he spins around and he goes, "Listen, I'm going to give you the best advice anybody's ever going to give you." He's like, "I've done a lot of these shows." He goes, "How many hours do you have to do this?" And I said, "Well, we have 8 hours." And he said, "No, that's wrong." He said, "You have 8 hours, Scott has 8 hours, and your assistant has 8 hours." He goes, "Change the way you're thinking about it."
Smart.
And that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. That is really smart. So I meant to ask this at the beginning, hearing, you got this advice from somebody that's kind of a veteran of these baking challenges. Have you guys done any kind of baking competitions in the past, TV or not? I mean, whether it was, a state fair or whatever.
We were on camera, the first baking competition, the first anything like that we had ever done.
The first time you ever had to put your cake in front of judges to be
in front of
judged. Buddy. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time in front of Buddy, that's got to be intimidating.
It was hugely intimidating.
Wow. Now, were the judges all there the entire time that you were decorating? Or did they take long breaks and come back?
They definitely kind of popped in and out.
Okay.
They're there at the beginning and you go and the clock starts, and then they came back in 2 or 3 times, and they would either sort of huddle in the corner and talk, or they would physically walk around. And we realized really quickly when they were walking around and they would suggest something, that it was very smart to listen.
Yeah, of course.
Because as you would like to think of these competitions as completely impartial, right?
Yeah.
Like you would like to think like the best, most amazing cakes wins, but that's not really how it works.
Oh, wow.
At the end of the day, every one of these judges has a particular thing that they like and a particular style they're looking for. And we realized very quickly that while we could make an amazing, spectacular cake, if it didn't play into what they wanted to see at the end of the day, it wasn't going to win.
Yeah, like, oh, you didn't take my suggestion, you're going home.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and they were instantly done. Oh, you didn't listen? Okay.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. Is that, do you feel like that was maybe a little bit of ego at play on the judge's part? I mean, I don't mean that badly. I just mean like,
no, but no, I agree. Cause there was, in the second episode, Buddy dinged Scott several times for this particular way that he airbrushes. And, it was hard because I felt like both pieces benefited from what he did.
Yeah.
But you could tell Buddy personally did not like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he took it personally that you didn't, follow the advice of.
Right. You did not listen. I told you I didn't like this. I told you it didn't work and you're still doing it.
Yeah. But you won. So, I mean, what does he know?
We won. We didn't think we were going to win. We really did not. We had this whole like pep talk between each other in the hallway where we're like, okay, we're going to be gracious and we're just going to accept that we didn't win. That was the hardest thing I've ever done cake wise. And to win was just huge.
Yeah. Well, so if you had the time limit of like 5 hours on the first thing and then 8 hours on the second thing, in reality, if I came to you and said, just as a consumer to, or a customer to a business person and said, I want a mine cart gem cake. And, you had 5 hours, was it 5 hours? I think. Yeah. You had 5 hours to make that cake. How long in reality would that kind of cake take in real life?
Yeah. Days.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Days. I mean, you would bake it and then, working with a partially frozen cake when you're carving and you're shaping is much easier. So I would bake it and it would go in the freezer for a little while and then I'd make all my fillings and all my frostings. And so it would be a multi-day process. So to have to shrink it down to 5 hours, I still can't believe we did it. I don't understand how.
I was watching the show and I thought, man, if I walked into their store and said, I want this, how long would that take for real? And yeah, I would imagine, and that's not even considering you have other customers that you're doing all the other things at the same time too.
I will say these days we don't, because the orders that we take have gotten so large and intricate and complicated, we don't take that many a week.
Okay.
But it's you have to account for, okay, this 8-foot alligator that we're doing that's going out in a few weeks. Okay, I know I need to make the entire base and the entire structure one day. And then I know it's going to take me hours and hours to bake all the cake with my 2 ovens because that's all I've got, just 2. So you really got to kind of account. I'm a big list person. So you got to kind of account, day by day, this is what I have to do to get to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, going back to the plant challenge where you made the tree, your first idea, which I thought sounded amazing, was to do a Venus flytrap. Do you have regrets on not doing the Venus flytrap?
The Venus flytrap was my idea. And it was when they told us that's what we were going to do, that is the idea I pitched to Scott. But when you're going by email through all this stuff and they're telling you like, this is what your first challenge is going to be, they kept honing in on the fact that they wanted this plant cake to be super realistic. And when you look at a Venus flytrap, there's a bunch of them, right? Like there's not just one. So Scott's problem was there's no time. You could barely have time to make one. How could you make 5 of them?
Yeah.
And if you only made one, is it going to look right?
Yeah.
But I wish we had. I really do.
Walk me through what that Venus, what your vision for that Venus flytrap would have been. had you decided to go with that instead of the bonsai
I
tree?
wanted to make oh my gosh, what's her name in the movie? With Rick Moranis.
Little Shop of Horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is where my mind instantly went.
Yeah.
You know, but we were too scared. It was going to be a little too whimsical and not really real enough. But then when you look at our finished bonsai tree, it ended up being very whimsical and not real look. So I think we could have done it and been fine.
I think so. Yeah.
You know, we were so torn, and I do wish we had done it. I think it would have heightened the creativity level of it, and I think the judges would have appreciated it.
Yeah, a huge Venus flytrap, Little Shop of Horrors Venus flytrap, I think would have been so cool and so different from the other two, right?
Than everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I said, the moment I saw 2 bonsai trees, I'm like, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's because all you needed was one to be just slightly better than the other, and then that one wins.
Yeah. Luckily, that third group with the potted plants was just that much worse than the 2 bonsai trees, like the 2, and then that one was kind of down here.
Yeah.
That was, I think, that was a little bit of your saving grace, is that third option was just so much lower than the other 2.
If you go and you watch, we've kind of noticed we've been like binging the other episodes at night before we go to bed, and we're noticing that in that first part, whoever ends up with the larger cake on the switch tends to be the winner.
Okay.
It seems to be like a consistent pattern.
Yeah. Because there's more to work off of, right? It's a bigger cake.
Think,
you got a little bit more options.
More ideas. Right.
Yeah. So you guys made it through to the second round of the plant challenge. And so you switch bonsai trees. And disaster struck before even the clock started. When you pulled that other cake, the very beautiful bonsai tree with the fried, flowers, rice paper flowers,
gorgeous.
Put it in the fridge, comes out, and it's like completely melted. Walk me through what happened there. What happened to those? I'm not a baker. I'm not any kind of gastromolecular biologist or anything. So walk me through the chemical reaction of what happened.
They had this giant walk-in cooler on set, but it was not plugged in. And
they said, they had a giant cooler not plugged in?
Not plugged in. They said, we didn't plug it in. The compressor's too loud. And we'll plug it in. It'll come to room temperature. And Scott's tapping me on the shoulder. And he's like, no, it is going to take days, multiple days for this thing to come to room temperature. Yeah. And I'm like, no, they wouldn't have us do this if this isn't what we were supposed to do. It did not, in fact, come to room temperature. It was extremely humid inside the walk-in cooler all night long. And when we wheel this bonsai tree out, I can literally take the flowers and wring the oil. It was so gross.
So in essence, the production team kind of hosed you guys. I mean, really?
None of the other cakes after that spent the night in the refrigerator. They show us wheeling them in, but that's not where they lived all night.
Oh, okay. Because like your cake didn't have any kind of there was no oil. Like these rice paper was in oil, right? And the rest of the cakes were just cakes. They're fine at room temperature, but that one really messed you guys up. Do you think maybe that took a little bit away from what you would have created and maybe factored into not winning that particular episode?
I think it took time away.
Yeah.
Time, and then you kind of had to all of a sudden pivot your design and your idea, and now we can't use this in the way we were wanting to use it. And I had to strip the whole tree when we originally didn't plan on doing that.
Yeah.
So I think time was the biggest thing it took away.
Yeah. Again, even though it didn't have the baking aspect of a normal baking challenge, there was still some drama there. And that was
right.
You almost think you watch these documentaries about reality shows and producers manufacturing drama for the sake of the show. And I'm thinking, did they do this on purpose? Now that I'm hearing what you're saying, that they didn't plug in a walk-in fridge for a baking challenge, like why would you not plug in a refrigerator for something that clearly needs to be refrigerated? And maybe my conspiracy theorist self is like, maybe there's some manufactured drama there.
So we definitely had the other contestants kind of like whisper in our ear, if there is no drama, there will be drama.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's like you said, that's what these shows thrive on. You've got to have that element, or else they're just not fun to watch.
Yeah, then you're just watching people, paint cakes, which,
right.
It's fine, but that's not what we're here for.
Right.
So you guys were in actually 2 episodes. Episode 9, it was another set of teams. And it looks like everybody, because I've watched a few episodes, everybody went twice, I think, right? All the teams went twice. So it's kind of like this round robin type of deal. So the second episode 9, was kind of make a gem type cake. And you guys did the mine cart, which I thought was really a cool idea. And again, some drama there. When you were molding the wheels, you decided to go with modeling chocolate versus isomalt, and kind of had some issues there. Walk me through that.
Yeah, so we had the one mold for the wheel, and I thought, so I keep my refrigerators really cold.
Mm-hmm.
And these refrigerators were not super cold. So when I'm putting things in that would set up for me at home, and 10 minutes, I'm checking on them 20, 30, 40 minutes later, and I tell Scott, I'm like, unmolded, it's been in there forever, it's totally done. And he unmolds it, and it's like pudding.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's bad.
And you're thinking in your head, well, this would have been fine if I was at my house or doing it, normal in my, Frigidaire refrigerator. Why isn't this industrial refrigerator doing what it's supposed to do? But
and we're like, can you turn the fridges down? Can you make them colder? Can you make them colder? And but all those things take time.
Yeah.
You turn your fridge down, it takes time for it to acclimate and the temperature to change, and they're constantly being opened and closed, and so it just sort of was what it was.
So you shifted and pivoted to isomalt. For those that don't know what isomalt is, what is that?
So it's a sugar substitute, but it's one of those things that we use a lot in cake making, but it's not, you wouldn't want to eat an isomalt lollipop. It is the same sugar substitute that if you've ever gone onto Amazon and you've read the sugar-free gummy bear reviews, and if you haven't, you really should, because they're fantastic. It can cause stomach distress.
Oh, Lord.
When you eat it in large amounts.
So strictly for decorating, not for human consumption. So the isomalt wheels actually ended up turning out okay. Now, did you bring the mold with you? Like, this is your mold from your house, or did? So
yes, so Scott made that for us.
Okay. Why didn't you bring 4 instead of 1?
In my brain, I know, right? Like all these things you look back on. So in my mind, 1 was plenty. We had 5 hours. I would jump right on that. But even if they took an hour apiece,
yeah,
I'd still have the right amount. But then you jump on something else, and then you jump on something else. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, there's 2 hours left and my minecart has no wheels. And fondant is structured so that if I have a huge amount like that, a very thick piece, it will just sort of smush in on itself.
Okay.
So isomalt was really the only alternative we had.
I mean, it turned out great. But as I was watching and I saw that the first wheel didn't turn out, and you had time's ticking away, I'm like, oh man, why didn't they bring 4 molds with them? They could have knocked all this out. Hindsight's 2020, obviously.
You made 1, which you have not made 4.
And then you're not. Yeah, and you're not counting on the production team like turning the fridge up to 43 degrees either. So, it's one of those things.
60 degrees.
It was what?
Yeah.
Did you say 60 degrees? 60?
Yeah, they were between 50 and 60.
New Jersey in October, you might as well just done it outside.
I know, right? Just sit it outside for a little while. Yeah.
That's crazy. So, like I said, overall, you were 1-1. You lost in the first plant-based challenge, and then you won the second one with that second chandelier where you had to change their demon thing into a hanging chandelier. And I got to tell you, the right call. I don't care if Buddy didn't like the way he was airbrushing it. It was the better of the 2 cakes. I mean, that first one that other group made looked kind of rough. I mean, it looked bad. I mean, why would you put string lights on there where everything is visible, especially the LED strips? I mean, I was thinking, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
It was so it was, if it's possible, it was even more bizarre in person.
Yeah.
It looked like they had taken our little mine cart and just shoved it in the middle of another cake.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is so they're across the studio from us, so we can see we can't hear them, but we can see everything they're doing. So when she first started, she had the mine cart and she had this top portion and it looked like a ghost.
Oh,
and
wow.
Scott and I thought, oh, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
So then she, and I wish they had showed this because it was really cool. She soldered these stunning copper tubing to the underside to make
Yeah.
and it was absolutely gorgeous. So then we thought, oh, she's making a jellyfish. And we were really worried because we thought, oh my God, that's really cool, And that's not what they made.
A space octopus, I think, was there. Yeah, I think they said a space octopus or something that came out to be the final product. But
it was just weird.
It was weird. It was weird. Like they just threw the string lights on there almost as an afterthought, and just to have more lights, I guess, so, as opposed to the right placement of lights. And it was rough looking, and and especially comparison to yours, the airbrushing on the chest look amazing. The way you repurposed some of their things, like you took the claws and put them up on top, and and you made bones as handles, and it just looked really, really good. And I hope you guys took pictures of that and you put it on your portfolio on your website, because somebody's going to ask for that cake at some point in the future.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So at one point during the competition, they actually confiscated Scott's phone.
Oh, really?
We were not allowed to take pictures. We were not allowed to take videos.
Oh, wow.
So I have nothing.
Oh, no.
I know. I hate it. I've tried. I'm not super tech savvy. I need to get my teenager to do this for me. But I've tried to go onto Hulu and screen grab.
Yeah.
Like some of the still pictures of the cake. Because it was the coolest thing. It was just so cool. And to see those doors open when you're standing there and the judges are like, it's this one.
Right.
And then it was our cake. And oh God, it was a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And this is another bone I have to pick with Hulu. Did you guys actually win anything? Like, there was no prize money mentioned.
So
there was no.
Funny. We won $5,000. I don't know why it is not mentioned.
Huh.
But every episode, the winning, you won the $5,000, and obviously you got paid to be there. Your union and you're working and all that kind of stuff. But yes, there was prize money.
So I wonder why. Yeah, because I wonder why they didn't mention that, because it just looks like you went there and filmed a couple of episodes, had a fun time, and okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, I had a lot of people ask me. They kind of assumed it was an ongoing competition.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they don't mention prize money, so you must be moving forward somehow.
Yeah.
So it was.
Oh, cute cat. That's so cute. Yeah, and I noticed that too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it was just, we thought it was odd too that it was not mentioned.
Yeah. So, and this is a different format of other baking shows, is like the baking championships seasonally that Food Network has. You're on the show for multiple weeks. It's like a 2-month, filming schedule. Here, it's kind of, you're one and done. Like you go, well, 2 and done, I guess, in this sense. So it wasn't like an ongoing thing where you kind of see people kind of learn and grow and get better throughout the competition, right?
Yeah.
But in your case, I did see you guys grow and get better, even though they were filmed back to back. Like your episode 3 and episode 9, you said were filmed back to back on the same day, right? Even though you weren't on multiple weeks, I saw some growth for sure because I thought your chandelier cake was much better than your final cake on the plant episode. So much better. So much better.
The final cake on the plant episode, the nicest word I can come up for it is chaotic. There was just,
I'll agree with you,
so much happening.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was our newbie, like, oh, I want to put this on, I want to put that on, and we could not cinch those ideas down.
Yeah, I mean the editing. The biggest thing with any cooking competition show, because I've covered a lot of cooking competition shows on my podcast. The biggest thing that you hear about in these shows is editing, right? Self-editing. Yeah. And I think I definitely saw that between your episode 3 and episode 9. Even if you were filming that same day, I think you guys took something from that first one. Was like, man, did we really need that big of a snail on that one? And then you really edited yourselves down and pared yourself down to just this essential, like really clean looking chandelier cake with the big eye in the middle. And that was like your focal point and what people looked at and thought, wow, that's really cool. So even then, I definitely saw some growth in there. What things have you learned on this show that you're taking back to your business now and being like, you know what, I can't do that cake in 5 hours. No, I'm just kidding. Not that, but, what skills or not skills, but maybe advice that you heard or things that you did on the show that you're like, oh, I can apply that to my everyday.
So I am definitely a more is more person when I'm making the cake, and I'm like, oh, more. I think the editing has really helped a lot, and I'm like, oh, maybe I don't need more flowers right there so much. And then trusting Scott more. The chandelier cake, we had to completely take apart, and then he sort of walked away for 4.5 hours. To rebuild that structure. And I had to just trust that he was doing what needed to be done. And I couldn't go in there and check, and I couldn't keep stopping, what I was doing. So trusting him more when he tells me, this will work and I can do it this way, or, Jenny, you can't have the nutcracker moving and sword fighting. It doesn't work like that. So just trusting him more that he knows his part of what we do has a lot.
That's good. So one other thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention earlier, the cake assistants that you guys got, I didn't see a lot of them on the show. Like, I mean, I get their background players, but part of the drama is how do you interact with these people that you've never worked with before?
Which I thought was odd. Gia was our assistant on both episodes. And she was phenomenal. She has her own bakery. She was hugely knowledgeable. And she did a ridiculous amount on both of those cakes. And I hate that she wasn't shown doing more. Yeah. Because I was like, I almost forgot there was assistants on the show in the plant one, especially because I was like, where did the assistants go and what did they do? And when you watch the other episodes, it's the same in all of them. They're not really seen doing much. I don't really know why they made that choice. I thought that was odd.
Yeah. So you guys had a watch party at V's Pizza to kind of celebrate the drop of the show. I'm sure you had a lot of friends and family, but I'm sure you had like some passersby that were kind of like wondering what's going on. How has business been since the show launched, a week or two ago? So again, there wasn't a lot of hype behind the show, so there's probably not a lot of advertising, but have you seen people's like, oh yeah, I saw your show. I saw this segment on News for Jacks or whatever.
Yes.
Have you seen some people referencing those things?
News for Jacks was incredible to us. The amount of people that reached out after they saw that segment was ginormous. When I look at our website traffic, and we would have 300 or 400 hits a month. I can look specifically at the News for Jacks article and how many hits came from that, and it was over 2,000.
Oh wow, good for you.
From that one article. So as a super small business, that's huge.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm hoping that the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. Well, if you're listening to this after the Thanksgiving holiday, but as
you already ate your turkey.
Yeah, you already ate your turkey. As the holiday season approaches through December, and people have some time on their hands to watch some TV, I hope they catch your show, or I hope they catch your episodes at least on Hulu and hear about it through various channels and see the kind of things that you guys do, and I really hope it picks up business. What's the future for you guys in terms of like the business itself, or have you now been bit by the competitive bug and you really kind of want to make this like an offshoot of your business of going on these competitions now? Because once you've been on one,
we got
your
the
name's in the
call-
hat for some other ones, right?
Yeah, if we got the call again, we both agreed we'd go in a heartbeat. It was just, it was fun, but it was fun on a whole other level to do it with him.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, when we got in the Uber going back to the hotel together, it was so amazing to know that I was having this experience with my husband.
Yeah.
It was just so cool. We've got some really huge orders coming up for December. One in particular that people in Jacksonville can go and see if they want to go and see.
Yeah.
We work with the Jacksonville Community Nutcracker every year. This will be our third year making a cake for them. And they've just gotten progressively larger and more elaborate and crazy. Last year, we had a life-size modeling chocolate ballerina.
Oh, wow.
She was in the land of the sweets. So she was there, and then she had all the sweets beside her. It was very, very cool. So this year, we're going to have the Nutcracker and the Rat King, and they're going to be sword fighting.
Oh, wow.
So check in on Scott in a few weeks. You know, if he's gone crazy with that yet. But it's going to be, let's see, I wrote it down so I'd be able to remember. December 14th, it is their Saturday evening showing. It's at the Florida Theater, and we will have the cake there in the lobby. So if you buy tickets and you go and support the show, you'll be able to see the cake in the lobby beforehand. And then at intermission, and then after intermission, we will wheel the cake into their cast party. But you'll be able to come see it and see how cool it is in person.
That's cool. Are you guys going to be there to kind of unveil the cake and all that?
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there answering questions and telling people not to touch it all night long.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
That's great. That's great. So what's the future of the business? Like what do you hope to gain from your appearance on the show? What do you want? What's the dream 5-10 years from now for Goodness Cake?
So I definitely still want to be here in our studio. I've got a studio that Scott has built for me, and it's ours, and it's private, and it's fantastic. I don't pay rent to anybody except me. It's wonderful. I don't ever want to be in a storefront. I don't really have any desire to have walk-in cupcake sales and things like that.
Right.
I really just want to do larger, more elaborate. We've kind of started the last 6 months or so getting into cakes that people can interact with.
Oh, wow.
So the wine barrel that pours wine. Or the music box where you can turn and the chocolate ballerina spins. So I really want to get into more cakes that have moving parts and interaction and things like that.
A little bit more engineering behind some of these
cakes.
Cakes.
More engineering, more hard work for him, less for me.
I'm thinking maybe you guys should get a sugar artist on staff, and then you can get on Halloween baking wars
and
all
I
that
know.
other stuff, and round out the team a little bit.
Yes, I need to Creme de la Coco in St. Augustine.
There you go.
Chef Niles was on last year.
Okay.
So if you need some binge watching, Halloween Wars from last year, he was on. And if I get the call again, I'll call him up.
Be like, look, I need you for my team. Let's do this together.
I need you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to give you I don't want to keep you much longer, but I want to give you these last few minutes just to promote your stuff. You already talked about the Nutcracker thing, but one more time, where can people find you online? Where can people find you on social media? If they want to place an order, how do they contact you? I just want to give you these last few minutes, just roll out the red carpet and give you whatever time you want to promote your business.
So contacting us is going to be the easiest through our website. You can go on, you can find, just to click the contact button. It's some basic information that you'll fill out. It will come right to me. And I'm really quick about emails. I try to answer within 24 hours at all costs. I can't stand when I email somebody and they don't get right back to me. So I try to be really good about answering emails. So our website is the best place if you want to place an order or ask a question. And then if you want to see more through our portfolio and cakes that we've done in the past, our Instagram and our Facebook, I think, are better for that. And our Instagram and Facebook are both the same. It's FOR, Goodness Cake Bakery Jax. Jax is JAX. And then our website is just forgoodnesscakejax.com. So website's easier to get a hold of me. And then our Instagram and Facebook are more fun to kind of scroll through and see all the cool things.
Excellent, excellent. And just a reminder, folks, just to follow me on socials as well, at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, to keep up with any episode that drops, and make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice. So and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of when new episodes drop. Hopefully, new episodes will be dropping in January. So, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the pod. Thanks, Scott, for me. I hope he's getting his hands dirty working on that car and getting it all taken care of. But I want to thank you both for your time and for really making Jax look great on camera. And I really, really appreciate that. I love the city and I love supporting local businesses. So you guys did a great, great job. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
We appreciate it so much. Thank you too.